Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. I'm with Kostas Christopoulos, who is the Director of Regional Sales for Four Seasons Resorts. Four Seasons Hotels and Resorts. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to see you again, Jared.
It's great to be with you here. Kostas and I used to work together at the Four Seasons here in Vancouver, so it's super exciting to have you here in the studio with me here today. So, what do you do? Tell me a little bit about what your job is.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I don't know if we have a lot of time, but I'll try to keep it.
We don't.
I'll try to keep it as concise as I possibly can. So I worked just to take a step back. I worked on property, as you know, as a marketing director with Four Seasons for just over 10 years, and prior to that with a couple of other brands. And I decided to move into the global sales side of our business, which is away from the hotel side of the business. It's in the corporate side of our industry or of our business in the company. And I took a great opportunity to work in the States, and my office is based in Beverly Hills.
Well, it's kind of glamorous.
It's kind of glamorous. It sounds really sexy, but it's like everything, right? It's different when you're on the inside looking out versus the outside looking in. But it's great. I can't complain. I love my job. I work with a great team. And in my role, I basically oversee, my team is geographically set up. So I do Southern California, basically all the way to Texas, so we go right across the U.S. We actually have Hawaii as well, which is in the Pacific, of course. But I also oversee Florida and Latin America, which is a big region for us. So it includes Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, where we have hotels. And my account directors basically are assigned a group of accounts, and they manage these accounts, different business segments, and their responsibility is to ensure that they promote and secure business for our 119 hotels globally.
Awesome.
And so my team does that, and I oversee that. It's a large region. It's the second largest region of the company, and the Americas region is the largest region as an overall whole. So it's a big job. It's different. It's people say, well, what's so different between what you used to do on property versus what you're doing in this global sales position? And it's really, I say it's a job that requires a lot of diplomacy, because you're working with your customers, right?
Yeah.
Who are vested in the brand and who are giving you their business, and then I'm dealing with our hotel partners. The people that are actually supporting us on the sales and the hotel management side, the general managers. Because without them, we can't do our job.
Yeah.
So we're always working between those two sides. And so I always say I've really honed my diplomacy skills, because I wasn't very diplomatic before.
This is a skill I need to learn.
Yeah, so I've become a little bit more diplomatic, which I'm proud of. And I share that with people that I've worked with, and they still don't believe me. But so that's basically what I've been doing, and I've been doing that for almost 2 years now.
Right. So you guys are selling. You're generally selling a service. So when I leave the Four Seasons, I effectively have really nothing in my hands, right? So how is it different from marketing a good or a product versus a service?
That's a great question. I mean, we're in the business of hopefully, when you look at it, it's a service industry, right? So we're in the business of making sure people have experiences that are going to last a lifetime, right? And so that's what we really look to from a marketing perspective. We're looking at marketing experiences to our customers that will last a lifetime. And some people are traveling on business, some people are traveling on vacation, and those will be unique and different. Business travelers want, something that they can count on. They want safety, they want convenience, they like the amenities that the hotel provides. But a family that's traveling, say, like a family of 4 or whatever, who's going to Hawaii, they want to have a really cool experience, because they're going to spend a lot of time on property. They're going to spend a lot of time on resorts. So what we focus on is those experiences. Yeah. And, we're really big on our marketing DNA, right, as a brand. And so, when we look at marketing our brand DNA is essentially focused around 3 key areas. It's the character, of our properties, right? And speaks to a bit of the personality of the hotel and the people in the hotel. There's the connections, to place, how we are connected within that community, and how we can tie stories that build within the local environment. It could be an urban hotel, it could be a resort property. Yeah. So they're all very unique that way. So we could tell stories that connect those. And then the third C is the the craftsmanship. And the craftsmanship is just equally as important, because we have really people that work on property that are really craftsmen. They are. It could be a chef, it could be a spa director, it could be a masseuse, it could be somebody who works on our kids club. They all have their their specialties, and we focus on stories that revolve around that. So really, we really focus the marketing aspect of what we do on the hotels is really about the experiences.
Right.
And we appreciate that people have a limited amount of time too. So we want to make sure when they do decide to pick us to stay at our hotels, that they really feel like their time was well spent, not to mention the value that we provide them from a dollar standpoint.
So your 3 C's were, again, character,
craftsmanship, and connections.
Connections. That's great.
Yeah. So
Excellent.
those are the 3. That's what we call our DNA, brand DNA.
Yeah.
So we we ask all of our hotels around the world when they build their marketing plans to have it within their marketing plans specific strategies that will drive results from those 3 C's.
Can you give me an example of what a strategy could look like?
Oh, for sure. Like, so for example, if you've got a really great outlet, right? You've got a restaurant that's got a celebrity chef. You would want to create a story, and you would want your from a digital marketing standpoint, be able to leverage that.
Yeah.
Leverage that uniqueness that hotel has with that executive chef.
Yeah, I remember at Four Seasons Vancouver when Ned Bell was the chef. I mean, that seemed to be a big focus of the marketing of the hotel and made the restaurant quite successful.
Absolutely.
As far as I remember.
Yeah. Food and beverage is always it's an easy mixologist now. I mean, the ability to have a bar that drives a lot of demand in the hotel, not just for your guests that are staying in the hotel, but people from outside. So if you're in a city hotel, having that strong bar scene is really important, right? Bringing in a really good mixologist who's got the very creative skills to create drinks that people are going to be drawn to and creating an environment. But yeah, that would be one. If you also look at just connections, if you're connected to a sense of like a resort, for example, in Bora Bora, right, which is really unique in itself, right? So you're connecting to Bora Bora, the destination, and how we tie stories within our specific property to Bora Bora.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great.
So and I could go on and on and on. Each destination, each hotel within the destination. We have hotels. Like in New York, we have two hotels in one city. In LA, in Beverly Hills, we have 2 hotels there.
Right.
So we really focus on the uniqueness of those hotels.
Right. So it's not cookie cutter. I'm not going to walk into a Four Seasons and be like, oh, this is just like the other Four Seasons I went to.
Exactly. And, I always say to people, one of the competitive advantages we have as a brand is our service.
Right.
And that service is really built on our people.
Yeah.
And our people are the ones that deliver that service and that experience.
Right.
And a hotel is a hotel. I've been to really nice hotels that aren't Four Seasons hotels, but they're gorgeous hotels. You go in, they're they got all the latest bells and whistles from a technology standpoint.
Yeah.
They're designed by some of the top designers, architects in the world, interior designers. But if the service isn't executed well and the experience, as isn't there, people aren't going to remember the fancy room. They're going to remember how their food wasn't prepared properly, how they didn't feel appreciated at the hotel. Guest name usage, like sincerity around the usage of our guest names.
Right.
Nothing that's manufactured or robotic.
Right.
So those are the things that I think I know for a fact that those are our competitive advantage as a brand.
That's great. So when we are in the Four Seasons and something bad happens as a guest, and which inevitably is going to happen no matter how great of a brand you are. How do you recover, or what are some techniques or strategies that you would use in the hotel with your staff?
Yeah. Well, that's again another great question. It's so much of it. It's not like you can't write a textbook on that. So everybody has the ability to learn a job, but it's the attitude that you can't necessarily train in people. Yeah. And I think the key to us as an organization is we really empower our employees.
Yeah.
So instead of saying, there's certain policies and procedures that they have to follow. Mm-hmm. But when they're looking at correcting what we call glitches, right? Glitches, if you remember from your days at Four Seasons, is when something goes bad.
Oh, I remember. And
we encourage all of our glitches to be recorded electronically. So that there's a sense of ownership, right? From everybody, from the employee who potentially could have made that mistake, feels comfortable recording that glitch,
right? And
they're not that they're going to be reprimanded for it. As a matter of fact, they're actually encouraged to do those things, and so we allow our employees to really feel empowered, to feel like there's a safety environment for them. There's a safe environment for them to be able to make mistakes, but also correct them.
Yeah. I mean, that was my next question. How important is it for employees to feel empowered? Or what if we took that element out of the Four Seasons? What would the brand look like?
Yeah, I think without feeling empowered, I don't think a lot of our employees would be any different from a lot of hotel brands. If they're being on script and if they feel like they can't make a decision without going to a manager, it's just going to complicate the situation when things do go awry.
Yeah.
So empowering our employees is really important. That's why I say, if hiring the right people with the right attitude is so important, because they'll learn the business. Our business isn't complicated, right? It's service, and it's ensuring that we ultimately make our guests feel like they've been not only welcome, but that they leave the hotel feeling, wow, this is really good value.
Yeah.
And they're not looking at it from a pricing standpoint per se. It's really about getting really good value and feeling appreciated. So our employees need to have that ability to be empowered.
Yeah. So what if I say customer satisfaction, like what does that mean to you? What comes to your mind?
Well, for me personally, I think I like to know that I'm appreciated. When I go to any establishment, whether it be a hotel or a coffee shop, that I think that my business is appreciated. I think recognition is important. So when I go somewhere, if I'm a regular customer, they know this Kostas likes an Americano 3/4 full with a little bit of cream, no sugar.
Right.
And they get it right.
Yeah.
So I think the anticipation is important, and we as a company we created probably an industry leading app, a mobile app, a chat app that customers can use, and they just send us text, and it's not a chat box, it's a chat bot. It's live people that are reading these and responding to them within 2 minutes. So our ability to ensure that we anticipate and understand what our customers want. So for me personally, it comes down to recognition. It comes down to feeling like I got good value. Like if I'm going to buy something, it's not so much I'm going to spend X amount of dollars on something and say, well, I paid that, it's automatically going to be great. I want to know that I got good value.
Yeah.
I think that's where we really talk, with our hotel employees and stuff, we really make sure that they understand, yes, we'll spend X amount of dollars, but it's not so much the dollars that they're spending, whether they're spending, X amount or on a high level, tens of thousands of dollars, it doesn't matter. The customer has to feel the same way when they come and go.
Yeah, that's excellent. So in your years of experience, there seems to be maybe what a customer is willing to accept and what they actually want. And there might be a difference between those two things. Sometimes we call it like a zone of tolerance. When have you experienced that, or where have you seen something like that?
Well, I think, you get, variations, of course. There's a lot of guests, when I look at it in our business, that have really high expectations, right? So the slightest little, glitch could set them off from the beginning. And there's things that, we can't control. There's weather, there's, how they got from the airport to the hotel. Yeah. If they didn't use our own service, there's some things that might set them off. But again, it's all about, having a reasonable expectation too. And I think at the end of the day, we always make sure that the customer understand what the customer's needs are and listening to them, try to address those. And there's going to be examples where customers, unfortunately, might not feel like the solution was ultimately resolved because maybe their expectations weren't realistic either, right?
So do you have to educate the guest on what to expect?
Well, no, not necessarily. I think there's an expectation that when the guests arrive, they're going to have a really great stay, and that they're going to not have to worry about a lot of things. So we're going to anticipate a lot of the things that they want, that their service is going to be executed 100%. And frankly, we want to exceed those expectations too. But again, with a brand like ours, people have such high expectations. But again, I've seen where guests stay at one hotel, they come to another hotel. They'll say, well, I had this experience at that hotel. It wasn't quite the same as this one. So we need to understand that.
Right.
And our teams on property are so good at addressing those. And they generally, I really do listen to the guests. And it varies on each scenario. It's so different.
Right. And so, you're dealing with a lot of the time high net worth individuals, celebrities, some of the world's influencers at your hotels. I imagine that it can be extremely difficult sometimes to manage the expectations of guests who have maybe been to all the luxury brands in the world, and they've been to some of the nicest Four Seasons, and maybe the one you're working at isn't the best one.
Yeah.
How do you deal with individuals like that?
Again, I think it just comes down to each situation. It's very situational based. But, again, a lot of the guests that are celebrities and the ones who are the high net worth individuals, they're the ones who require the least amount of work.
Right.
Sometimes it's the guests that have never stayed at a brand and they've worked really hard.
They've saved all their money.
Their money up, and they just want to go through this experience and have no issues at all. If the pool's closed down for whatever reason, they want to know that there's an alternative setup. So we kind of walk through all those different scenarios. We anticipate a lot of those potential concerns and risks. And I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, like the daily meetings that you, again, were familiar with on property. Like they go through the guest arrival list every day. They look at who's coming in. If they've got a profile with us established, we know, these are specific hot buttons. So we got to make sure that we address those. So, yeah, I mean, it's so hard. You can't convince somebody if they really want to be, a challenge when they're on property, that's, we only accept it to a certain level as well, right? I mean, we're not going to, tolerate any abuse to our employees.
Right. Yeah. So, in the studio today, we have your daughter Talia with us.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
now, one day Talia might have children, and you might have grandchildren, and your grandchildren are going to ask you, like, Grandpa, what was it like to work for the Four Seasons? Or tell us a story. Like, what is that crazy thing or that really interesting thing that you remember in your career with the brand that you're going to tell them?
Oh my goodness! My kids are blessed. They don't want me to ever leave the company. Neither does neither does my wife, right?
Right. They're never going to do well in hostels across Europe, are they?
That's right. Well, Talia's been spoiled, and my other youngest, Ariana. But I think, what I probably enjoy more than anything, Jared, is the reaction I get from people. When I tell people who I work for, I'm telling you, 100 out of 100 times, I get a smile on people's face.
Right.
People recognize the brand as something that's quality, and that makes you feel good. And then really the values and the principles of our company are so aligned with my own personal values and principles. Right. And that's why I'm going on to my 15th year in May with the company.
Wow.
And I've never worked at one organization for that long.
Yeah.
The longest I worked for one company was 11 years.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a long time, but I really look back at my time in Four Seasons, and hopefully there's going to be still some more runway ahead. But it's really the value and it's really the values and the principles that really started with our founder, Isidore Sharp, and the golden rule: treat others with respect and as you wish to be treated.
Right.
That's ultimately what our golden rule is. It's very simple philosophy, but it resonates with everybody. It resonates in your business life, your professional life, and also in your personal life.
Yeah.
So I think, regardless of where I was to go after Four Seasons, if I was to leave, I think it's going to be really hard to replicate that.
Right.
It's a really cool experience. And as I said, it really lines up. And I know a lot of my colleagues that I worked with that have left the brand, and they're off to they've taken on different opportunities, and they've been very happy career-wise. But they always say there's one thing that always resonates with them. It's just the quality of the people that they worked with.
Yeah, that's excellent. I mean, my experience working for the Four Seasons was incredible. When you work for an organization that is world leading, you know it when you work there. Yeah. You know that you're working for a brand that no one really can truly compete with. And I think that's what was so amazing about my time with the Four Seasons. Yeah. I really appreciate you being with me here today. It's been great to chat with you. It's been great to see you again as well.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.